Hello everyone out there. Sorry for the long delay between videos. I had mentioned in a couple of them about removing the headlights and restoring them and get rid of the mold on the inside. The first step was getting the car elevated. I have the front end secured with jack stands at the subframe. Pull the wheels off, and then I'm going to remove the liners. From there, I really don't know what's next. I'm just going to have to figure it out as I go along. I don't have a manual on this car, so I don't know all the little details involved. I did see a handful of screws down here that I've already removed. I'm aware of several in here, and I'm sure there's going to be a handful once I get the wheel liners out. And here's what it looks like with the wheel liner out. This part of the car collects a lot of debris. When I removed the liner, a bunch of gravel fell out of it. I've managed to get the fascia off. Took a lot more disassembly than I had anticipated. I'm gonna do a scan of everything I had to take off. I'd remove some weather stripping, trim, the entire trunk assembly. And there's what the fascia looks like removed from the car. So I had to disconnect a water line here. That's to the headlight washers. I had to disconnect a coax. This looks to be some sort of an antenna for the radio. I'm assuming this is a airbag trip sensor. And another large harness. This looks to be for the parking sensors. There's a handful of fasteners that were obvious to be removed. It still didn't want to come off. I looked a little bit closer and I noticed there was these retaining clips. So you have to kind of pry this back, pull, and then knock these retaining clips loose. Once that is all removed, then it's just a matter of disconnecting the harness that goes to the headlight. There are two nuts back here that need to be removed. Actually, this one right here, that one right there, and then a bolt here and a bolt here, and then the headlight assembly pops right out. This is what it looks like with it removed. And this is what the headlight looks like removed. Now the next step is going to be to take a heat gun and to soften up the adhesive right here, and then use various pry tools, wedge under there to pop this lens off. And then once this lens is off, I'll be able to remove this mold. This stuff is extremely sticky and it cools really fast. You just got to work a small section at a time. I'm using these little pry tools to help wedge and hold the lens away from the channel. I'm just working my way around, and then I'll heat this last section up, and I should be able to pry the whole thing away. And here's what it looks like separated. Once you get more than halfway around, you can pry up with one hand and then use the heat gun on the other to heat this up, and you'll be able to pull it apart. It's really gritty. It looks like a buffing compound, and some wax will get rid of that. I was also surprised to see that there's a pretty hefty bloom here. I can't tell if this is on the outside or if it's inside of this lens. I'll try to remove that with a little bit of alcohol. since this is not really a surface I can polish because this is cloudy. One somewhat finished. I was able to get all of the mold out of the inside. I was able to get it off of this frosted section too. It did leave a little bit of an imprint where it used to be. You can kind of see right there. It's nothing terrible. For the most part, these headlights were in such bad shape, they should have been replaced. I had some really bad delamination on the outside, and I had a friend wet sand that clear coat off, and then I took these to my buffer. I have a special wheel and compound for plastic. It's still not really very clear. It's kind of scratched and hazy. I'm not really too worried about the little micro scratches that are on the inside. The mold had bonded to the inside of the lens so bad I had to use a rubbing compound to get it all off. The result of that is tiny little micro scratches. And then compare that to the one that I have fixed, and it's quite a difference. Both headlights are back in, and I have the front of the car back on. I still have to connect a few harnesses and put the front trunk assembly and the belly pan back on. The headlights are in no way perfect. I'm very limited on what I can do in regards to polishing plastic. From this point, I'm going to have a detail specialist perform a color correction to the outside and add a protective film. I did get a hold of a McLaren dealership, and they did say that McLaren offers a lens kit with adhesive that is allowed to be sold to the end user or the owner of the car, to be myself, or the dealer can install it. I did share with him the frustrations in trying to get this looking nearly perfect, and he said they had tried just about everything they could, and that with the lens replacement kit that made it a lot easier. Brand new lenses, the headlights will look new again and have the OEM protective film on there. The price that was quoted for those is $825.50 for both. Really, I don't think that's terribly bad considering a complete replacement cost for both headlight assembly is $6,000. And for something that's cosmetic, I think that's absolutely ridiculous to pay that kind of price. I can understand if they were damaged in a front-end collision, but at that point insurance would be covering that, and I wouldn't even worry about trying to purchase those out of pocket. The downside of this lens kit is that they are in back order, and he has no idea when they're going to be available. So with that bit of knowledge, I went ahead and decided to go forward with my, what I consider half-ass effort to make the lights look newer. And I'll just roll with them until the lenses are available. Getting back to the reassembly, the harnesses that need to be reconnected are right here. I have a couple of them. These are the ones that go to the trunk assembly. Yeah, my light just shut off. I have this large harness here that I assume is for the parking sensors. Those are that. This harness and this coax that goes to this antenna right here. I'm going to point out one little disappointing part of this car I've noticed is a really cheap rubber trim. It's a really cheap piece of rubber trim to cover up these bolts. Now, if this was never painted, sorry. Now, if this never had any kind of adhesive on there and they never bothered with it, I think it would look fine. But, just to add that finished look, I had to throw a piece of rubber on there that's held on with two-sided tape. Not really a big deal. You just add new tape to it Stick it on, you're done. You kind of tell whoever originally designed this, they wanted a seamless look between this plastic here and across the front. Here's what they look like. Cleaned up and put back on the car. It's a 9-day difference. Looks a lot newer. And thank you for watching this video.